The Fifth Congress of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, PSUV, ended Thursday after an intense agenda of debates on the upcoming April 27th elections. Displaced Palestinians faced new hardship as strong winds have caused extensive damage to their towns, especially in the central city of Deir al-Balah. And the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, warned of high pollution in East Asia and the Pacific regions. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. The Fifth Congress of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, PSUV, ended Thursday after an intense agenda of debates on the upcoming April 27th elections. For 3 days, the political organization established the methods for the selection of candidates to participate in the regional and legislative elections. More than 21,620,000 citizens are called to elect governors, deputies to the National Assembly and regional legislative councils. Vice President of the PSUV for Communal Councils and Communes, Jorge Arriaza, highlighted the importance of respecting the popular will expressed through the vote.
Por eso, el presidente Maduro insiste en este momento en el cual hemos logrado.
That is why President Maduro insists at this moment in which we have managed to stabilize the ship after all the storms or the worst of the storm, because the storm continues, that power must be handed over to the people, that we must guarantee the organization of the people in the territory so that the people can plan, execute, evaluate, and be the master of its own destiny. As Commander Hugo Chavez used to say during the discussion of the 2007 reform. I remember, in some way, he used to tell us we, the president, the ministers, the governors, the mayors who are your servants are like your contractors. We shall do what you tell us to do.
Somos como sus contratistas. Nosotros haremos lo que ustedes nos digan que tenemos que hacer.
In Colombia, the government of Gustavo Petro announced the third package of emergency decrees for the Catatumbo region. The new package is made up of 7 decrees, including the limitation in the sale of fuel in the zone and the change in the allocation of resources and royalties. Also included are the power to close gas stations, the limitation in distribution of fuels and chemical agents that are diverted for the manufacture of coca paste and cocaine, and special measures for the protection of peace signatories, communities and officials, among others. The trial against former Colombian President Álvaro Uribe for the crime of bribery of witnesses and procedural fraud began Thursday in Bogota, a case that goes back 13 years. The trial began after the Bogota Superior Court admitted as evidence on Tuesday the surveillance interceptions carried out by the Supreme Court on Uribe in 2018. In this trial, the judge will have to decide whether the prosecution's accusation against the former president is acceptable or whether, on the contrary, as the defense alleges, Uribe is not guilty of these charges. The long-running lawsuit dates back to 2012 when Uribe sued leftist Senator Iván Cepeda, who at the time was preparing a complaint against him for alleged links to paramilitarism and for witness tampering. On Thursday, Ecuadorian presidential nominees reached the final day of their election campaigns at the brink of February 9th elections amid waves of violence and political crisis. Over 13 million Ecuadorians are summoned to go to the polls on Sunday to decide the nation's future. Lately, estimates advanced that current President Daniel Noboa and the candidate for the Citizens' Revolution movement, Luisa González, are the nominees with more voting intentions. It is worth highlighting that these presidential elections will be held amid a scenario marked by political irregularities and new acts of violence in the country. In Argentina, the far-right government of Javier Milei announced the modification of the gender identity law 3 days after the people carried out a massive federal march for diversity and against fascism. Precisely, the spokesperson of the presidential office, Manuel Adorni, informed that the government would postpone the hormone treatment that is now allowed after the age of 16, only with parents' consent and integral medical assessment to after 18 years old. After the president himself shared a series of fake news regarding the current identity law, many see this as a repressive response after Argentina's massive anti-fascist march last Saturday. And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back, stay with us. A U.S. District Court in Massachusetts will hold a hearing on a lawsuit filed against Donald Trump's administration policy that would force thousands of federal employees to resign. This demand is a consequence of the deferred resignation offer presented by the government, which allows federal employees to leave their jobs while receiving pay until the end of September. However, it has been criticized as a solution that does not adjust the needs. In this sense, it is worth noting that the unions demand the government to implement a policy that is legal rather than arbitrary, illegal, and short-term ultimatum that workers cannot comply with. According to reports, at least 40,000 of these employees have already accepted the agreement, which represents about 2% of the nearly 2 million federal employees on record.
So badly and discriminated against, and they actually viewed me as I'm being discriminated against.
A U.S. federal court issued a preliminary ruling to hold back from implementation President Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship. Precisely, Maryland Federal Court's District Justice Deborah Boardman decided to issue the injunction indefinitely after listening carefully to the arguments in favor of freezing the decree. The justice further noted that Supreme Court have always protected birthright citizenship, adding that President Donald Trump's order disregarded the 14th Amendment. Trump's decree had been already on hold nationwide due to a separate lawsuit filed by 4 states at a Washington court to stop the order. China dismissed Thursday U.S. President Donald Trump's accusations of interfering in the Panama Canal through the operational concession of 2 ports of entry. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Guo Yakun said the canal was a permanently neutral international waterway and stressed that his country respects Panama's sovereignty over it, as well as its management and operation. On the other hand, the Panamanian government also rejected as untrue a White House statement that announced that U.S. vessels would be exempt from any transit toll in the canal. The Chinese government reaffirmed its commitment to privacy and data security after ministries in South Korea blocked access to the Chinese artificial intelligence DeepSeek website over alleged security concerns. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Yakun ensured that the nation has never required nor will it request companies or individuals to illegally collect or store data. The diplomat affirmed that Beijing has firmly opposed the practice of overly eliminating the concept of national security and politicizing economic and technological issues. The spokesperson further indicated that China will firmly safeguard the legitimate interest of Chinese enterprises. Indian lawmakers disrupted the ordinary session of parliament by rallying against the alleged inappropriate treatment of deportees from the U.S. The opposition legislators denounced that the U.S. military plane returned 104 Indian migrants wearing shackles on their arms and legs Authorities described the action as an insult to India. Hence, they demanded a debate on the violation of human rights in the way U.S. officers had made the arrests. Meanwhile, Indian Foreign Ministry officials pointed out that the target of India must be fighting off illegal migration. Displaced Palestinians face new hardships as strong winds have caused extensive damage to their tents, especially in the central city of Deir al-Balah. In this sense, many people have seen their plastic tents completely destroyed, leaving them without nothing but the clothes on their backs. The harsh weather has not only stripped them of their shelters, but also of the few remaining possessions they had managed to salvage. Meanwhile, military authorities reported strong winds ravaged the Gaza Strip on Thursday, resulting in the death of 2 Israeli soldiers and injured to 8 others. The accident happened earlier in the morning in the newly established Israeli buffer zone within Gaza. In this regard, 1 soldier is critically injured, while the remaining 7 have moderate to minor injuries. The Israeli government ordered on Thursday to prepare the ground for a mass exodus plan for the population on the Gaza Strip following U.S. President Donald Trump's proposal for the forced displacement of Palestinians. Through a communique, Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz informed that Gazans will allegedly be free to emigrate to nations willing to receive them. The minister further assured them that measures will be taken to evacuate them by air and sea if necessary. The statement comes after the U.S. President unveiled a plan to expel nearly 2 million Palestinians from the Strip, which has been condemned by several countries and denounced as a way to achieve the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Israel, Gideon Saar, announced on Wednesday that the country will leave the United Nations Human Rights Council following in the steps of the U.S. administration. The minister accused the Human Rights Council of making efforts to demonize the Tel Aviv regime by passing over 100 condemnatory resolutions. The Israeli withdrawal comes amid recent international pressure aimed at holding the Israeli authorities accountable for the genocide in the Gaza Strip. We have a second short break coming up, but first we invite you to follow our YouTube page. Where you can find stories and all the latest information related to the most urgent topics of the world. This is all for the moment. Stay tuned with From the South. Welcome back to From the South. Australian Parliament unanimously passed a bill condemning hate crimes across the nation. The bill obtained 117 votes in favour and 13 against, and it aims to safeguard new traits such as race, religion and gender. Thus, the approved regulation amendments stipulate mandatory prison sentences for crimes of terrorism and exhibition of hate symbols. The policy has come out in view of increasing attacks by some religious groups that had committed several offences, as vandalizing and burning infrastructures or schools belonging to different ideologies. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, warned of high pollution in East Asia and the Pacific regions. According to the agency, some 500 million children in these regions live amid unhealthy levels of air pollution that can fuel chronic diseases such as diabetes and cardiovascular pathologies. In addition, the agency stated that 373 million children live in places with unhealthy levels of nitrogen dioxide, a gas produced by vehicles, factories and power plants, which aggravates asthma and other respiratory affections. Moreover, other consequences include brain development difficulties and risk of school closures, which can severely affect the children's education. In Brazil, authorities reported that at least 7 people died in the city of Recife, capital of the state of Pernambuco, after heavy rainfall. In this regard, the National Meteorological Institute and Pernambuco's Water and Climate Agency renewed on Thursday rainfall warnings for Recife and other regions of the state. However, up to 6 a.m. local time, the capital of Pernambuco had an accumulated average of 131.4 millimeters of rain in the first 24 hours of rainfall. According to weather forecasters, these figures surpassed the 91.4 millimeters predicted for the whole month of February in the region. And now we have come to the end of this news brief, but remember you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, as well as in our social medias. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.